Hello, my name is Josh, Ableton Tutor, and today I'm going to explain to you how the audio chain selector and preset recall set works. Okay, so first off, you can run this in either two configurations. You can either run this with using audio as an input, which is how I'm running it at the moment. The way that you'd set this up is you would take a direct feed from your interface. For example, I have an interface plugged in which isn't plugged into anything, but I'm just going to show you the premise of this. So you'll go into your settings and you'd set this up, select your audio interface. So for me, I'm going to use my Studio USB ASIO driver, and that'll run the hardware like so. And then you'd select the input here, so external in from wherever your external in is from your sound card, and then you'd select which input you want that. So for example, one would be my microphone if it was plugged in. It isn't at the moment, I'm talking to you through something else. And then what you would do is you would select audio effects chain here, and that would go from here into here. So now if I play this loop, which is supposedly audio, you'll now see that it comes through this channel like so. Okay, cool. So that's one way of running it. Alternatively, you could select a MIDI instrument. I'm going to go along here to Impulse and go to Brain Freeze Kit, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to select up here, and if I hit record, enable, that gives me a kick, and then I can route it like so as well. And that's actually coming through this audio chain. Now what I'm going to mention straight away, that in order for this to work, you need to select this to in. If you select this to any other setting of the monitoring, whether that be auto or off, it's not going to work. It needs to be selected on in order to work on this channel here. Now let's go into the actual effects rack that I've built here. So what I've done is I've gone through and painstakingly and mapped every individual chain. There's 16 chains that you can have here. I've painstakingly mapped each individual one, not only to be selected by the key selector, but also soloing each individual chain as well as bypassing any other effects that were active beforehand. So for example, I'll show you now, if I press 1, it's going to turn the reverb on chain 1, but if I select 2, it's going to bypass the chain, and you can see that it's enabled chain 2, but it's bypassed 3, 4, 5, and so on. So that's going to stop sucking up your CPU, because a lot of people do this, but they forget about the CPU. So I've gone through and painstakingly mapped it out, and you can see this by me opening all of these individual channels. They've all been mapped to be off and on at certain points. If I select 9, for example, you'll notice that if I go to 9, it's on, but if I go to 10, it's been bypassed. So I've gone through and done that. And then in order to help speed up your process of not having to remap every individual effect to bypass them, I've also created group slots. So if I select 5 here, you'll notice I've got an overdrive. If I hit 5 here, it's going to turn that on. What I can do now is I can hot swap out effects. So if I don't want to have 5 as an overdrive, I can quite happily go over into the audio effects and I can select something else. So for example, I can use a resonator. What I'm going to mention now is it's really importantly drop the audio effect into where it says drop audio effect to here. If you drop it outside of here, let me show you. If you drop it outside of here, what's going to happen is when I go to bypass the audio, it's not going to bypass the effects that you drop outside of the slot. So they need to be within this group, this audio effects group here, and that goes for any of the effects that you're selecting. They need to go into that group here, this selection here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now very quickly is to show you how you can use this to be mapped in a live situation. So I haven't got a MIDI controller, but what I have got is a keyboard, a numerical keyboard, which I'm just using. And I've mapped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 5 effect slots which I can change. And if I press a button, you'll notice that they change. So the key selector actually moves like so. So what you notice when I select one of the 5 buttons, the chain selector moves and mutes the previous effects channel, activates it at that correct chain, and also bypasses all the other effects, which is how we're managing to get such a low CPU load. So imagine if this was hooked up to a foot pedal for a guitarist live or something, you'd be able to jump around your effects on the fly without any issue, without your CPU raising above a ridiculous amount. So here's a resonator running through. Of course, you can customize these effects as well. You can add more or less. That's an echo. Expand this if you need to, or you can get rid of things if you need to. This is completely customizable and down to you. Reverb. 5 is the underwater. Oh no, 4 is the underwater effect. At 3 is a delay with an amp. It's a little bit Trent Reznor that. And that's so. What you can do is you can expand this. So what you could do is you could make these chains smaller if you wanted to add more effects, or if you wanted to go for less effects, you could make these chains longer. The advice I give you is make sure that you select a number in the middle of the chain so it doesn't get confused. So for example, if I go into chain 1 and I go up to the chain selector, you'll notice that I've hit in the middle of the chain. So I've mapped 4, which is in between 0 and 8, like so. So I hope you enjoyed this little set that I built for you. Reach out to me if you've got any problems. Make sure you sign up to the mailing list, because I'm going to be updating you with new upcoming content and resources that I'm going to be producing. And if you've got any issues, as I've said, please email me and I will resolve those as soon as I possibly can. Until next time, thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye.